Hi, this is Dr. Gayle MacBride, and I just wanted to thank you for getting all the way to the end of season 2. I hope you've enjoyed this season with all of our guests. We are busy working on season 3, so I want you to watch out for it to drop in early 2026. In the meantime, enjoy a mix of rerun episodes that have been curated for you by our intrepid host, Michael MacBride. These rerun episodes are a mix of the most listened to, the least listened to, and all of our guests. We're going to give them a repeat performance as well. So thank you for following along with us on this journey. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. This helps us get more listeners. And please, even though we are on a break, we are watching our mailbag. So thanks for listening and look forward to season 3 in 2026.
Well, hey there. You've stumbled upon the intersection of internet quandaries and psychological insight. Welcome to Veritas Views on AITA, where the quirks of the internet meet the expertise of Veritas Psychology Partners.
Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Michael MacBride. I'm joined by our dynamic duo of psychologists.
Hey, I'm Dr. Gayle MacBride, and I am really excited to be back with you, Dan. I've missed recording these with you, so welcome to today.
It's been a while, and I'm looking forward, as always, to exploring who's the asshole and who's not the asshole, and picking apart whatever conundrum our intrepid moderator, yeah, there you go, brings to us. So, Michael, what do you have for Dr. MacBride and myself?
Sure. Well, first of all, welcome both of you, and anybody out there who's like, wait a minute, break, what do you mean? You have been religiously posting week by week these podcasts. A little bit behind the curtain, we both took some time in June, and so some of those things were pre-recorded. But yeah, we're fresh and live now. So for any of the newbies out there who also are like, what is this podcast all about? On the internet, people post scenarios and they essentially ask, who's the asshole here? And that's what we're going to hope to figure out. And also, if you're new, stick around through the end. We'll have a bonus conversation after the credits. And those are always entertaining. But neither Gayle nor Dan know what post I'm going to ask them about. I haven't shared the scenario with them. So let's go. This is one that I found when we first started talking about doing this as a podcast. And
wow, it's been in the hopper that long?
He's held on to it.
I have, because we started recording after it was relevant, and you'll see it's dated, but one of the things that I think works here in a lot of these scenarios is, even though this is a very specific scenario, I think you can apply it to other kind of events. So
right.
Anyway, this is what it is. Am I the asshole for assuming my baby could come to a Super Bowl party? So that dates it in time, right? The Super Bowl. But I was thinking, like, any other kind of events, we make assumptions, and so
I'm already going with no, but I guess we should hear the rest of it.
Sure.
I love judging books by their covers. So
my wife and I, both in our 20s, got invited to a Super Bowl party yesterday. We have a 15-month-old. I assumed the invite was for our kid as well. It was a text invite saying this is happening at this time and place, no other details. In my history of going to Super Bowl parties, they've always been a family-friendly event. So I didn't think twice about bringing my kids to the buddy's house. We are both on the West Coast, and it's over by 8 p.m., so it's a daytime thing and not a late night thing like it would be on the East Coast. Apparently, my kid was not invited, and my buddy who hosted wasn't happy that we brought him over. We had a discussion that turned into an argument, and we left. He never mentioned no kids, but am I the asshole for assuming my child could come?
This is really interesting. I'm struggling a little bit because I want to understand more about how this 15-month-old maybe disrupted the party that made this other person so uncomfortable about it. I mean,
15-month-olds are disruptive.
They can be, I suppose.
Well, they are.
But I'm trying to.
Maybe not your 15-month-olds, but all of my 15-month-olds.
So what happens? They cry?
Of course they cry.
You pick them up, you take them out of the room.
Right. And they poop in their pants.
Sure.
And most other
as a
Participants
parent
probably
present
don't.
at the event, you take care of the baby's needs. Now, I get it. Like, okay, so it's more mobile than, and I am going back to my own time when I brought a baby to a Super Bowl party. But as my memory as I'm thinking about this was that baby was mostly in its car seat or someone's lap because it was probably, only less than 2 months old. So
Oh,
maybe
wait, wait,
that's
wait. Michael has something to
I
say.
was
He's
gonna say
raising his
you're
hand.
hitting on something very important. Like the headline says "my baby," but
sure.
then everybody in the comments is like, "You didn't bring a baby. You brought a toddler. A baby you could hold or would stay in a car seat or
Sure.
whatever. A toddler, 15-month, is mobile." So
Yeah.
anyway, sorry. I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure to hit that.
But I think I struggle a little bit because I am guessing this host does not have children and so does not understand the assumption that the 15-month-old cannot watch itself. So you might want to then give the parents a heads up. This is an adults only. Like, I think the host of this event did a disservice to their friend by not being more explicit, saying, hey, you're going to need to get a babysitter. I think that they should have told them.
Yeah, here's what I want to know. What was the host's complaint?
Yeah.
Did they elaborate on what the host complained about?
Yes, the toddler kept grabbing snacks, and toddlers are not known for washing their hands, and they might touch
And
other
runny
things, and
noses, I
so
suppose.
they were digging in the bowls of things and double dipping, and being a toddler, curious, wandering around, that kind of thing. So
Yeah, toddlers are toddlers.
Yeah.
They're gonna be disruptive. 100%. They're gonna be disruptive.
100%. I totally agree. And I think that's not the issue here. Everybody knows the toddler is going to be disruptive. The
Mhm.
parents know and the host knows. It's the poor communication between these two friends. And then it sounds like it devolved. And Michael, I don't know if there are more details about how that conversation devolved, because I'm assuming the host is like, hey, you should have known, you should have asked. And the parent is like, well, you should have said, like, right. And so now we're really just missing another opportunity to have,
Yeah,
the best assumption of someone that we care about, that we're friends with, and to understand each other's position here.
yeah. This is where I jump in with my standard line about like 7 minutes into the rom-com. If
Yeah.
everybody just sat down and had a nice little talk about what they should or shouldn't do, what the roles are, what's going on,
Mhm.
the entire thing is over. Roll credits, and
Yeah.
this is one of those many examples of times where like just a brief conversation ahead of time, and either one of them could have initiated the conversation.
And I think would have been perfectly appropriate to do so. I think
Yeah,
each came into the situation with a set of expectations that,
right,
again, were just different, not
right,
wrong. And they
right.
didn't make those expectations explicit with each other. And in doing so, they probably began to harbor resentment as the friend with the toddler starts to feel more and more uncomfortable because he's probably getting looks that are telling him like, oh, you made the wrong decision here. And, the host is like, oh my gosh, there's toddlers everywhere and snot and whatever. Like, so, they're each probably ratcheting up as the evening goes. And
Oh,
I'm guessing there are adult beverages
absolutely.
involved, which lowers inhibition and tolerance for these kinds of things. And it just goes off the rails without checking that expectation.
No, I mean, here's the thing. If I'd been hosting an adults only party and someone brought a 15-month-old, especially a Super Bowl party with all of its stuff around, that might annoy me. Um, on the other hand, I'm and I feel like we haven't explored this enough for me to jump to this place, but I have to say I'm much, much more annoyed with the inviter than the invitee on this one.
Hmm.
I mean, yes, 15 months olds are inherently active
Hmm.
and disruptive and 100% will disrupt. And but I gotta say, if I were invited to something and I had 15-month-old, it was a daytime thing, I would just be like, I would bring my kiddo. I wouldn't even think twice about it.
Yeah.
And if you want to host an adult only party, like the parameters of the party are on the host.
Oh, 100%.
And and
100%.
and and so while I think that the attendee bears some responsibility for saying, hey, my kiddo's going to be there. Like, I hope that's okay with you. Like, I would have made, I wouldn't even said, is it okay to bring it? I was like, yeah, I'm bringing the kid.
Right.
But if I think it's incumbent much more on the host to have said, don't we, this is adults only. We're drinking, we're swearing, we're throwing shit at the TV. There's going to be food everywhere. This is just not a great environment for a toddler. Would love to have you join us if you can find a babysitter
Yep.
during
And
the Super
I'm
Bowl.
going to throw a little bit of a wrench because I agree with you. I agree with you. But let's
Of
think
course you
about
do.
this.
I'm
The
right.
poster is a 20-something-year-old, right? Maybe even the first in his group to have children. And I have
Yeah.
to say, 20-something-year-old, stereotypical cis males are not known to be thoughtful party throwers. And so now we have someone who's just maybe ignorant.
I'll own that.
Yeah. So
I'll own that.
now this guy who's never had kids didn't think to set the parameter because he doesn't think about it. It doesn't even hit his radar. Now,
No.
I allow for the fact that he should have been kinder and more generous about the conversation afterwards. Like, oh, I should have thought to say this. Sorry, dude. But I don't think that he naturally would have maybe come up with this in that massaged facts of the scenario, right? Where nobody else
Yeah.
has kids. It's this one guy. 15 months old. We've only hit one Super Bowl party with this baby, and they maybe even dipped out last year because baby was so young. So, so they just
Yeah.
don't think about where that miss is going to happen. And I would like to see these two friends go, oh man, we're really learning something from this situation, and we're going to do it differently next time. Hey, your almost 3-year-old is not going to be welcomed next year or 2
Yeah.
years.
And I never faced this early on because my cohort of friends at the time, we like there were like six couples. Like there were seven couples, but six of them were pregnant at the same time. So like everyone and we would remark about how last year's Super Bowl party was so different than this year's Super Bowl party because
Yep.
this year there's like crawlers and somewhat and then this and the thing and last year it was just like sitting around and so it was a very different. I remember that event, but I
Yeah.
just I didn't face it this way. And Gail, I get what you're saying. Like I like the 20 something young man is probably not thinking that, oh shit, this is going to be a thing. And but that's also in him to say, I learned something.
Yeah.
If I want to have a grown up party, I should. Now that my friends are starting to have babies, I should say that this is a grown up only party. And we've all been invited to parties, and it says on the thing, like
For sure. You've
adults only.
hosted parties, and I have clarified with you and your wife, kids,
Yeah.
right? Just to
Oh,
make sure now,
100%. Yeah.
right? And sometimes yes, and sometimes no. I mean, we've gone to things together where we've shared the babysitter at the other house and
Yep.
and gathered
Yep.
because kids weren't appropriate. I think it's perfectly okay to set an adults only party, but I think when you do that, when someone has kids involved, you do need to be really explicit. And I go back to that Priya Parker book. I think we talked about it before, The Art of the Gathering. Like you said, there's a really specific intention about who you invite for the purpose of the party. So if we're going to drink and swear and throw popcorn at the TV, that is not a place for a 15-month-old. One
Right.
might argue, hey, said friend that brought the child should know this. And, his life is changing. So maybe he thought this party would change as well.
You're being kinder to the host than I might be. But I get it. I think I'm coming around to your position on this because my first thought is this host is absolutely an asshole. And then the parents
Yeah,
they made a mistake that
he did.
I'm more forgiving of them, but I'm kind of coming around to the initial error. Like I'm not so upset about the initial error anymore on anyone's part.
Yeah. I think he
Um,
just felt maybe embarrassed. And that's a
yeah,
hard emotion to sit with, embarrassment.
yeah. I I could see that, and I think that, and I totally see this dude like trying to have the Super Bowl party, and I've gone out of my way to get the buffalo wings, and now the baby's smearing like hot sauce everywhere and crying and
All over the couch,
all over the
which is
couch,
probably like
and they dug their
fake.
hands in the Cheetos. There's like now there's Cheeto dust everywhere because they dug their hands in the Cheetos and they
Mhm.
got that on their face and and I have to move everything. I okay, fine.
Oh, and I'm sorry,
Um,
15-year-olds are snot factories. I'm coming back to that. Oh,
yeah, yeah, and What I would have really loved to have seen is everyone here. Let's go back to John and Julie Gottman's assuming positive intent. Everyone here, if everyone here just gone, yeah, I should have asked. Oh yeah, I should have told you. Like, whoa, all right. And everyone could have had a laugh over it and just been like, that's where the assholeness comes in, is getting pissed. How dare you bring a 15-month-old to my Super Bowl party? How dare you get mad at me about bringing my 15-month-old? You should have known. Like
that detail on this post is missing, is really how did that argument go down? I mean, the question is, am I an asshole for bringing my 15-month-old? I think we're at this place where we're gonna make a ruling, and I'm gonna say no. You maybe should have asked. Maybe the host ideally would have said something, but I don't think there's assholes in that question.
No.
Where we're jumping to, and I think becomes a conversation between friends, even in a therapy setting. I mean, friend therapy has kind of become a thing. You know, we don't really have codes for that, but you know, friends sometimes are our family, and those relationships take a lot of work. And we think, I'm going to go off on a little bit of a side here for a moment. You know, we sometimes think that friendships just should happen organically and be sustained naturally. And then when there's a difficulty in the road, we give up and we move on. Whereas we're willing to do family therapy to continue to make a family unit work well and repair relationships and those kinds of things. But friends are incredibly valuable in our life. So if we consider this idea of friend therapy to maintain or repair a ruptured relationship between friends, I would love to have these two guys in my office and have the conversation about how that conflict went down, right? And that's where I think the potential assholeness could show up, right? Is how did you approach your friend? Did you assume the best intent? Did you, were the drinks involved? Should we have just, stepped away because we were, am I the asshole for arguing when I was drunk? Those kinds of questions come up for me, but not inherently in bringing the 15-month-old.
Yeah, I don't. I'm going to agree. I think that if there's any assholeness, it's in the latter part of it. There were a couple, both people didn't think through like what would have happened and how that would have been. I'm still more annoyed at, like, I'm not willing to call either one of them an asshole for the initial mistake.
Yeah. No.
I am willing though to say that they're both like leaning into asshole territory, much more the inviter than the invitee in getting pissed at each other.
Right.
But I also suspected it was like, dude, why'd you bring your kid? This is an adults only thing. Like if it was that sort of a thing, but problem is we don't know how it actually came down.
Yeah.
Like he might have said, oh gosh, I really wish I'd mentioned to you that this was an adults only thing. I'm really sorry I made that mistake. And and I didn't have things set up properly for having a 15-month-old. And I should have talked to you about that. And then the parent got all pissed off. Then they're the asshole. Like that's what we're missing here. Some of the, how did this get approached and who escalated it? But it doesn't sound like anyone's being particularly kind here.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
So more to add to that.
There's a couple things I can add to kind of clarify. One, unfortunately, the poster has not clarified a lot of things. The one thing that he did clarify is how the conversation went down, which was his friend pulled him in the room and said, "You're an asshole for being a 15-month-old." Like that was basically it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. No.
So unfortunately, that did not go well.
Okay, so now that guy's an asshole.
What he did right there is he called his friend out, but he did it in a separate room. He didn't do it in the room full of people. I'm not agreeing with how he called him out, but if you're going to have a conversation like that, you absolutely do it quietly and privately. So I'm glad he did that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Quietly and privately is certainly the way to do it. But man,
yeah.
I mean, you learn from at that point. You just like, oh.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll say
I could see myself going, oh God, I really should have told him not to bring the kid. Like I could,
And very much again, so, even though they didn't clarify this, I mean, it's pretty clear from the few things he did comment that his friend didn't have kids. So I think your point about him probably being the first one to have kids in the friend group really messes up that dynamic. I mean, Gayle and I were the first to have children in our family, and there's just it changes your mindset on things, that, nap times and all these things that do not occur to somebody who's never had a kid or hasn't been around them.
Hmm.
It just
Yeah.
doesn't apply, so he probably didn't occur to him. But I guess since this is about the Super Bowl, I'm curious, what happens if we shift it and we make it a random party, or hey, we're having a barbecue, come on over, or more formal, if we did a wedding and you get a wedding invite, where do you come down on whether the kid's automatically invited or not?
I
Wedding,
asked.
yeah,
I
I would have,
asked.
yeah, but wedding invitations, any formal invitation, I put it 100% on the person to say who's invited. Although in a wedding invitation, they always say so and so and so and so.
Right. I
So
think it
you don't
helps
get
if
to
you
bring your
say and family, and because that provides clarity
right.
that the children are invited. But I went to a wedding last spring and it was not clear. And so my first response was to the bride, are the kids invited?
Yeah, of
Said,
course.
yes, of course. And then I RSVP'd for all four of us because
Right,
I
right.
wasn't sure what kind of event. And this happened to be an Indian
It,
wedding. So I knew it was going to last hours and hours and hours. And I didn't know if this would be appropriate for my
right.
children to attend. As it turned out, they were welcomed and everyone was happy to have them there.
But you certainly bring in the cultural aspect of this, because that kind of and I originally was on the side of like, no, it's up to the person providing the invitation, but in an invitation, and depending on the culture, children going to a wedding may be like what everyone expects, and in other cultures children go to the wedding, like doesn't happen. And so
Right.
I think everyone needs to be explicit, and where they're not explicit, I love that, asking is really really important. But they should, I think, like I got it invited to it in a wedding, I guess it was 2 years ago now, and a family member's wedding, and it said on it, this is a adults only wedding. Okay,
Yeah.
fine,
Yeah.
great,
Perfect. Right. And then you went
great.
and just
And
the
we
two of
went
you.
and had it, and I really believe it's on everyone's part to be as explicit as possible, and where it's not explicit, to explicitize it.
Explicitize it. I like that. I've learned as an adult, ask the question,
Yeah.
right? If you're not
Well,
certain, ask the question. There
yeah.
generally is no harm in asking, but there's harm in assuming. And so I will tend to ask. And I appreciate it when others ask. To Michael's point earlier, what if it's just a barbecue? A friend that I made through work has a
Hmm.
child. I think that child is 2 now and much younger than my 13 and 15-year-old. So when we get together and we've done family things, the question is kids or no, right?
Right,
Because it's not like when you and I gather and our kids are closer to age and hang out. This
right.
is maybe my kids kind of doing a babysitting role, which they love little kids, so that'd be fine. But we could also see a world in which, no, let's just do couples and let's leave the 2-year-old home.
Right. No, this and
Yeah.
these are discussions that everyone should have. If we're getting back to who to blame here, I'm still blaming the
Yeah.
inviter more than the invitee, especially if you approach it like you're an asshole for bringing your kid.
Right.
Um, but again, we're gonna get back to this message over and over again. So many wasted opportunities for having conversations.
And you mentioned John and Julie Gottman. Start with a softened startup.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I realize I didn't mention this. However, I did sort of think that it was assumed that there were no kids. Like even that would be a more gentle way of approaching.
What
It's not
he
great, but
what he,
instead of you're an asshole.
I think even more so, what he should have done is gone, oh man, I
Of
can't believe I
course.
fucked up and didn't tell them, and like gritted his teeth and just dealt with it the entire time. And then next party, this is a kids only party. This is an adults only party.
I mean,
Um,
that would have been ideal for sure. But if you're going to bring it
yeah,
up, you need to think about a harsh startup versus a softened startup. And a harsh startup, you're an asshole for bringing in your kids. That's what that is. And it's
yeah.
never going to go anywhere. It's going to engender defensiveness. And then you have an argument on your hands. So,
Hmm.
a softened startup and
100%.
taking responsibility. Oh, man, I wish I thought to tell you earlier. Kids weren't really involved. So next time, let's just make sure that we talk about that ahead of time or
Yeah.
something.
No, I think you're right. And I think my last thought of, oh, we should just not say anything and do it next
Mm,
time, I think I'll be wrong, because I could totally see the person next time going, oh, he's mad because I brought my kid. And I
mhm.
think being more explicit about how, yeah, we had meant it to be an adults only thing, and we'll make it more explicit in the future.
Right.
You're totally fine to have brought your kiddo. You didn't know. And if you see something in the future, it's just because sometimes we want to have adults only things.
That's
Hope you can understand that. You know, these
right.
kinds
That's
of
taking
gentle,
responsibility so that
yeah,
we've got some good antidotes to those really necrotic processes or toxic processes
yeah,
when you have a disagreement. And so introducing antidotes like soften, startup, and taking responsibility are huge to just diffusing anything that gets tense.
100%.
So
Yeah. So the internet was kind of all over the place on this one.
not
There
surprising.
were a lot of people who said, "You're the asshole. You shouldn't assume your child is not a Super Bowl party is not a family friendly event." And then in that, there were all these arguments because they're like, "I have never been to a Super Bowl party without kids." And like, then they're like, "What Super Bowl parties are you going to?" And like, they went back and forth. And like, clearly, they just
Very
live
different
in
Super Bowl
different
parties.
realities. I mean,
Yeah.
I think one of those things that you guys keep hitting on is like, I think both of them are just in a different place of their life and they just
Yeah.
made assumptions based on where they're at. Our kid is part of our family. Where we go, our kid goes. And the other guy is like, I don't have kids. Why would a kid be in my house? This is bizarre. I never
Right.
thought about this, you know?
Right.
So there was that. There were no assholes here. And all of them basically kind of pointed, like you said, like everybody kind of failed, but like
Mhm.
not in a malicious way. Like they weren't trying to trip anybody up. Um, and then everybody sucks here was the other version of that where it was like, you should have asked, you should have done this. And there's lots of finger pointing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And then
No.
the one that was my favorite side conversation was you're the asshole. You should never assume your child is invited, which then said, okay, let's forget about kids. What about dogs? Every time I have a barbecue, friends bring dogs to the barbecue and I didn't invite them. And then it made me think about like that, like if dogs are your world and you don't have kids, and then you need someone to watch them anyway. So I don't know. It spiraled in all kinds of ways.
It did.
No.
It did. And I would agree. You don't bring your dog unless it's explicitly, you know your dog is invited.
I'll bring my cat.
I know. I was just thinking next time.
Bring the cat. Bring the cat. What's that? I brought my cat. She'll be.
Fine.
He'll be fine. They'll just hide
All right.
on the barbecue all day.
Well, thank you both for another riveting debate and a glimpse into the collective conscience of the internet forums. Remember, morality is often shades of gray and not just black or white.
Oh, and I usually say you can't make this stuff up, but this felt really real. I really appreciate the opportunity to take apart something that just was a very human difference among Americans who enjoy Super Bowl parties.
There you go.
Yeah, please follow and share Veritas Views on any of the podcast platforms with your neighbors and friends. And always, as always, stick around through the credits for the bonus conversation about whatever it is we're going to talk about today.
You can follow Dr. Dan Kessler at Dr. Dan Kessler and Dr. Gayle MacBride at Dr. G. MacBride. Oh, and you can find them both at veritaspp.com. Credits. Tickling the Ivories, Matthew Reddington. Art, production, and design, bringing this show together with flair and finesse, Michelle Love. Recording and editing, turning chaos into something worth sharing, Michael McBride. Intro, outro, I'm Kelly Buttrick, a VO talent who just happens to be Dr. McBride's cousin. Cats, CJ, Linus, Sadie, and Griffin. Hosting by whomever lost the coin flip. Interruptions by all their children. The content of this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Listening to this podcast does not constitute a therapist-client relationship. If you believe you may be experiencing a mental health issue, please seek the assistance of a qualified mental health professional. If you are experiencing a mental health crisis, you can call or text 988 from anywhere in the U.S. to be connected to Crisis Mental Health Services.
Thanks for listening. As promised, here is that bonus conversation.
All right, Dan, I have a question for you.
You bet, because I have no idea what the bonus conversation is going to be.
Right? Okay, so I'm wondering, what is something that you often say to your clients that surprises them?
Huh. I think one of the things that often comes up is that you don't have to accept what's offered. Like
Say more. I love this conversation.
people are always offering you things. They're offering you advice. They're offering you guilt. They're offering you shame or all sorts of other things. And we have the option of saying no. When with all sorts of things. And the way I do this in my office, and you know it, is I just start handing people things, you know? And it's my experience that whenever you reach out and hand someone something, they'll just take it. And they end up with, at some point when I just keep handing them more and more shit in my office, they got stuff piled everywhere, and they're like, why are you doing this? I'm like, why are you taking it? Do you want any of this? And they're like, no, I don't want any of it. Well, why'd you take it? Well, you gave it to me. Well, and they're like, oh, I don't have to accept the guilt that my mom or dad is offering me. I don't have to accept the anger that's being offered me. I don't have to, like, I can make a different choice. And I think just making explicit that we don't have to take what's offered to us. I think, and it seems really obvious, but it surprises folks, and it sometimes even surprises me how often I accept what's offered to me.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm offered guilt, or when I'm offered some other emotion that I don't necessarily want, and I just go, oh yes, I'll take this on and make it mine. And that we don't have to do that, and we can be really, really clear. Like, I'm okay with not taking this from you. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. Tune in next week for another Am I the Asshole debate.
We love hearing from you, so please review us on Apple, Spotify, or, well, wherever you're listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please review, like, and follow. Also, give it a share. This helps us reach more listeners.